false prophet, the false prophets of the Lord, the vain prophets of the Lord, the arrogant prophets of the Lord. Hananiah was told by Jeremiah that instead of the yoke that was on his neck, it would be an even stronger yoke put on his neck because of his lie. Hananiah lied and said that the Lord told him that the captivity of Babylon was about to be an end and that they were going back home. And Jeremiah said, okay, well, if the Lord said that, more power to us. And he stepped away and he asked the Lord himself. And the Lord, because Jeremiah was the person who the Lord spoke to. He speaks to us all, but he also has an elect person who he speaks to of his people, the high priest, the prophet of the Lord. So he stepped to him alone and spoke to the Lord, and the Lord answered him, and he told him, put on even, he said, because you remove this stock around your neck, here go one of iron. You know, they might have had a wooden stock. He might have had like a wooden, just like a symbolic representation of a yoke around his neck. So he was like, so what happened was Hananiah broke that yoke and said, this is what the Lord will do, break the yoke and take us home. And Jeremiah went and consulted with the Lord and found out it was a vain lie. Now I'm gonna explain why would Hananiah do that. Hananiah, you gotta know who Hananiah is and why he was listened to, why this matters, why everything is pertinent. Hananiah was called by the Babylonians and Nebuchadnezzar. He was one of the elect of those kept from Israel during captivity. So Hananiah is actually Shadrach that went in the fire. So Hananiah went in the fire. You see what I'm saying? If he was to say that the Lord said something, why wouldn't it be true? He was a person who survived the fire. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Hananiah is a person who refused to bow down to the idol when Nebuchadnezzar made them blow the horns and everybody in the kingdom was supposed to bow down. Hananiah is the name that was for. Hananiah is also a high priest. Hananiah was the name that was for Shadrach in Israel. So once the miracles started happening, they had to start recognizing these people by their real name. So Hananiah is who the Jewish people would call him. You think about it, we still in captivity, we still in Babylon. The person named Hananiah, when actually Hananiah's name was changed to Shadrach. So Shadrach is Hananiah. So Hananiah's already been through the fire. Of course, you're going to listen to what he got to say. Why would Hananiah lie? This is why Hananiah would lie. Once Nebuchadnezzar saw the power of God, Nebuchadnezzar started following and listening to everything that Daniel was saying. So logically, to a person who's in the know, he would think that eventually Nebuchadnezzar is going to be the one that's going to make provision for all of us to be sent back. And he know that God is great, so he's going to actually make sure that we all get everything we need to rebuild the temple. And he's going to replace all of these vessels he stole and all this stuff. But in actuality, it was the Persians who did it, you know, that did that for Israel. The Persian kings were the ones who was making the decrees to have the provisions set aside for the temple to be rebuilt. So anyway, why would Hananiah lie? Because Hananiah was that much respected by Nebuchadnezzar after they performed those feats by the Lord's majesty. So Hananiah said, okay, he's seen what the Lord did for us. He has no choice but to eventually let us go. Over time, him being around Daniel, he's going to have to let us go. But he didn't know Nebuchadnezzar's heart, nor did he hear that from the Lord. So a stronger yoke had been placed on the neck, and more captivity came after. And that was reasoning in itself enough for more captivity from other nations. Outside of the prophecy that God already understood all of that. So quit being a false prophet. If God didn't tell you something, don't say that he did, because it's very rare. If it's very rare that God's telling someone something critical about you know what I'm saying, somebody else or about the world, because God usually telling you about yourself, because if you got yourself in order, you'll understand what's going on in the world. So a lot of people who are in confusion in their own lives are saying God told them something about somebody else's life, and that's false. So if you're in confusion about your own life, get that clarified before anybody should be justified to believe you about what God told you about their life.